What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, hope you're doing well. Okay, let's do a recap of week 7's training so far. It's also the first week of the endurance slash lactate threshold training block, which will go for 5 weeks. Took place from the 26th of June to the 2nd of July. So Monday was just rest and walking. Yeah, didn't really do much in terms of training, just took it easy. Tuesday was a 16k run with 8k's of lactate threshold in between. Did like a 5k warm up first, took it pretty easy. Added some strides before doing the 8k lactate threshold run, and then did the 3k's of cool down at a pretty easy pace as well. Yeah, it went okay. Wednesday was a 23k medium long run. It was raining a fair bit that day, so I was a bit worried because I was wearing my Rebel V3s for the first time in the rain, and yeah, I wasn't really sure about the grip and the traction, but it turned out it went okay. Like, didn't really slip. I haven't run in the rain in a while now. I think last time I ran in the rain was since April, so yeah, it was honestly quite refreshing. Thursday was an 8k recovery run at Bankstown. Just took it fairly easy, went okay. Explored the streets a bit, and yeah. Friday was an 8k medium long run at City Park. That went okay, and with that run, yeah, that concludes the first half of 2023. That's around 1715 kilometers for the first half of 2023, which is crazy because I think that's about how much I ran in 2020 entirely. Saturday was 11k's general aerobic run with some speed work at the end. I did my park run first, a roads park run, and then took it pretty easy this time, and then did another 6k's around City Park, and then finished with some strides, 10 by 100 meter strides. There was a bridge closure at the usual roads park run course this time, so yeah, they changed the course for a bit this day. The detour course featured more grass at the start and at the end, and there was like a really narrow footpath in the first k as well. Overall, the detour course wasn't too favorable over the usual parkrun course, I guess, but at least the parkrun organizers still held the event, I guess. Sunday was a 34k long run. I did it from Marrickville to Parramatta Park via Cooks River Cycleway and City Park. I also remembered to bring my soft flask this time, which was great. I did meet up with my running buddy Chris somewhere near the Riverwalk in City Park, and we stopped to have a little catch up for like 20 minutes. So yeah, then afterwards, yeah, our legs were quite stiff and cold, but yeah, I continued on afterwards. I was wearing my Endorphin Speed Freeze this time, and I think 27k's in, the shoes kind of bottomed out, so it was getting kind of uncomfortable for the last, I don't know, quarter of the run, I guess. I think it's because I stopped earlier to talk and, like, you know, stand around, I guess, so that kind of made the shoes a bit flat, but yeah, not sure. Somehow held on towards the end, and yeah, like overall, fairly great long run, I guess. That brings the total mileage to around 112 kilometers this week. It still feels quite unreal getting used to these like 100 plus kilometer weeks, I guess. A year or two ago, I'd only be doing like one single Sunday long run for the week every now and then, and definitely not more than like 22k's or something. But I guess doing this marathon training, it's made me do like a bunch of medium long runs throughout the week. I think these midweek medium long runs have been doing massive favors to my endurance and fitness, I guess. Overall, a decent training week, and hopefully the weather stays fine throughout the upcoming weeks, I guess. I also wanted to quickly talk about running wet weather and like share my experiences and give you guys some tips. So yeah, in the past I've run in all types of wet weather on pavements, from light drizzle to normal rain, all the way to torrential rain. I'm talking about super windy flood weather. Like, if you guys are from New South Wales, there was like the New South Wales floods from like February to April and also July of last year, 2022. And also I've run at night in wet weather as well, which is kind of crazy combo. Definitely not recommended. Often doing this wet weather times, I was wearing like really worn out shoes, beat up shoes, like outsoles all ripped off and stuff. So very poor traction. Somehow I never slipped, but yeah, I really don't want to test my luck anymore, I guess. And these days, I'll still run when it rains, but I will skip a rainy run if I have to do a speed workout, like intervals, lactate threshold, or tempo paces. Yeah, I think that's very risky to run in like fast paces in wet weather. I'll probably do aerobic runs, recovery runs, long runs, and maybe marathon pace runs. At those kind of paces, it doesn't really bother me that there's rain, I guess. I probably won't do a rainy run if it's at night. Very, very bad combo. Poor visibility and wet surfaces, crazy combo. If it's flood season, definitely not going to run this time, I think. Too much wind, too much rain, it's just not safe, right? And also, there's a thunderstorm. Like, that's not my thing. It's too noisy, it's too distracting, and like it's kind of scary to run during a thunderstorm. Yeah, I probably wouldn't ever do it. And also, some alternatives to running wet weather include like, if you have access to a treadmill at home or at the gym, that's great too. You can also postpone your run for the next day or like the following day afterwards. You can also skip the run and do some like indoor cross training, like cycling if you have access to like a indoor bike. Or sometimes you just take a chill and do some yoga, Pilates, some strength exercises. some core exercises instead, I guess. You won't miss that much fitness if you like miss a workout or two. However, if you're a keen like me and still want to run wet weather, then here's some tips, I guess. Keep in mind that you'll likely get more tired when you run wet weather as the run goes on, more so than usual running in fine weather, I guess, because your body will be working overtime, trying to keep you warm from the cold air and also the rain and wind hitting your body as you run, while also like trying to cool your core temperature and your body temperature at the same time. So yeah, so your body's like working much harder to keep you cool and warm at the same time. You're gonna feel more tired than usual than like your normal runs on like fine weather days, right? Rain can get in your eyes, on your face and stuff, and like that will cover your vision, I guess. Especially if you're wearing glasses like me, when rain gets on your glasses and you can't see, and you're like short sighted like me, oh, that's a really bad combo. So yeah, just be careful. Make sure you slow down and wipe your glasses every now and then as well. You should also stay alert and focused the whole time. Definitely don't wear earphones when you're running in the rain, because it's kind of hard to hear people, and also like hazards and alerts and that kind of stuff. And also like stay hydrated regularly, because you're probably sweating even more when it's raining. I don't really recommend exploring new routes when it's raining, because you don't know if there's gonna be hazards or like road closures and that kind of stuff. And if you run at familiar routes when it's raining, try to avoid the routes that you know form a lot of puddles and stuff, or like has a lot of hazards. Yeah, and just slow down in general, because like it's kind of hard to run fast in wet weather when you have like less traction. Like pretty much anything on the ground is gonna be more slippery than usual. So yeah, just slow down in general. I'll quickly go through some of the hazards that you should look out for when you're running in the rain. Firstly, you gotta be careful of those paint surfaces. Like, you know, those yellow and white markings on the ground. Yeah, some of them are quite slippery, some of them aren't. Just don't risk it. Just try to avoid it or go slowly over them, I guess. Be careful of like leaves and foliage on the ground. You just slow down or just go around it, walk over it if you have to as well. Be careful of puddles in general. Like some of them you can get away with, but some of them are really deep and it's pretty slippery as well. Walk around them or just walk over them. Just go slow. It's not worth it if you run over it. Also be careful running on grass as well. Some parts are just drenched with water, and that's gonna like break your ankles or like get you all wet and stuff, so it's not worth it sometimes. Be careful of mud and like wet dirt, especially when it gets on your shoes as well, because when your outsole has like a lot of mud and dirt, it's gonna be even more slippery. Just try to like wipe it off before you continue running. Be careful of boardwalks. They're very slippery when wet. They're kind of like cold water, and like they're kind of uneven, so you're more likely to slip on those in wet weather. Be careful of like the grating material boardwalks. They're usually on bridges or like shared cycle paths, and these be quite slippery when wet. And sometimes when the cycle path is a bit higher than the pavement, there'll be like this metal ramp as well. Try to avoid that as well, because that can be very slippery when wet. Slow down on hills. Uphill, downhill, you gotta be pretty alert on the hills as well. And yeah, I pretty much only run on pavements in wet weather, never really done on trails, so I imagine trails would be way more dangerous than running on the pavements. And in terms of what to wear, firstly, don't overdress because you might overheat. If you wear like waterproof or water resistance clothing, it's gonna help you, block some of the rain externally, but that also applies internally as well. It's gonna make your body hard to breathe outwards. That means like your body's like gonna sweat more and it might overheat, which will make you more thirsty and tired. Yes, just be careful like wearing too much waterproofing or water resistance clothing. I mean, it might be okay for like light rain or like shorter, slower runs, but for like longer or slightly faster runs, yeah, just probably don't wear too much. Honestly, it might be better to just keep it simple and expect to get wet. So just wear like shorts and t-shirt, or just wear like your general normal minimalist clothing in the rain. You can also wear a hat to reduce some of the rain getting into your eyes somewhat, or like reduce some of the water dripping on your face a bit. Prevents a bit of rain getting on your glasses too and your eyes. Sunscreen is still recommended for wet weather, because even if it's cloudy and stuff, you can still get sunburnt. But keep in mind, like if you put too much sunscreen and like your face gets wet and it's gonna start like dripping down, if you taste something bitter in your mouth every now and then, it's the product sunscreen, which is kind of gross. If you carry electronics like your phone or your car keys and that kind of stuff, put it in a Ziploc bag. That usually works pretty well. I find that it's kept it pretty waterproof, I guess. Definitely wear shoes with decent traction. Don't wear old shoes or like shoes with like worn out outsoles. Yeah, you're probably gonna slip more, and just be careful. Like you should experiment and know which shoes have good traction during slightly wet weather, and you'll know, I guess. Also, when it comes to wet weather, chafing is also more likely. I haven't really experienced it myself that much, but I know it is an issue like amongst a lot of people in wet weather. So if you get chafing in the nipple area, I guess like tape and bandage helps, or like some anti-chafing cream or even some Vaseline. If you get chafing in your thighs, I guess, then you should maybe like wear some compression shorts, like that keeps your thighs apart from each other. And also like apply some anti-chafing cream as well, or like Vaseline, that kind of stuff. And also blisters like in the foot area are more likely as well. Make sure you use the runner's lip or the heel lock to like reduce the feet from like slipping around the shoes and causing like rubbing and like blisters, I guess. And also like maybe I don't know if this works, but like you can also wear like toe socks for like less toe blisters, I guess. The idea is like you want to like reduce the slippage so that there's like less rubbing, like less chance of blisters, I guess, but you might get blisters anyway. And also have like a shoe rotation and like have lots of like spare socks, especially for back-to-back weather days. Like if you run one day and it's gonna be wet, the next day you should have another pair of shoes to run in, or like have like a different pair of dry socks to like wear as well. And in terms of drying the shoes, you can put like scrunched up newspaper in the shoes to help it dry faster. Also make sure you leave the shoes in the shade, not in the sun, to dry, and don't put your shoes in the clothes dryer. They might wear down the integrity of the shoes. Just leave in the shade to dry. Make sure you have like a shoe rotation, have like multiple shoes to like run in, so you can swap around when it gets wet, and just make sure you have like different pairs of socks to run in. I have like 10 pairs of socks to run in case it gets wet, I guess. Yeah, that's pretty much my experiences and tips with running wet weather. Yeah, I don't really recommend it. It's kind of unsafe, but if you're keen to do it, I guess, then yeah, just make sure you just be careful and plan ahead as well. Yeah, other than that, that's pretty much all to say for now. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.